Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we've got a bit of a different kind of video to make, and I hope you guys are going to support me on this. So we're going to have some Yamato gameplay going on in the background, but we just got some stuff to talk about. And I didn't want to rush into this. This is why I've waited this long to try to let more details come out and get the sides of more people involved, see what Wargaming's response is, and all of that. Now, let me just start out by saying that I personally have never been afraid of being critical of Wargaming as a company, as well as developers, the dev teams themselves, the individual dev teams that make up the games that I have personally played. I've never had any issues being critical of them, as long as you do it in a, personable manner. Like, don't be a jerk, in other words, okay? Be human, right? At the end of the day, we're all adults. Well, most of us are adults. The developers are all adults. So, having those human relationships with one another, there are going to be disagreements, there are going to be things that you don't necessarily understand, and so keeping communication channels open is a big deal. Hence the reason when you do come out and say things that are critical, that you don't just shut off your communication channels. I'm a big proponent of that. Now, why am I saying all this? Well, it's pretty straightforward and simple. The PC World of Warships Community Contributors program is a mess. Most of the big names, if not all of the big names, in World of Warships PC CC program have resigned their position in the CC program, have stepped down and walked away from the program after several months of increased irritation with the direction the game, the developers, and Wargaming itself and their practices has gone. Personally, I 100% stand with the people who have stepped down from the program on PC. 100%. I've watched so many different accounts of people saying the exact same things. Now, could there be collusion there? Probably, but it's not likely. These are all individuals, and they're all saying very, very similar, if not the exact same thing. Now, where does this leave me? I have been a community contributor for two separate Wargaming titles, and that is World of Tanks console and World of Tanks not World of Tanks, and World of Warships Legends for console. Been around for a while. I've played World of Tanks for 5.5 years, and then I quit that and came to World of Warships, and I've spent the last 2.5 years playing World of Warships. So we've got basically 8 years of playing wargaming titles, and in that 8 years, I've grown pretty familiar with everything that the CCs on the PC version are facing. Like, I've faced similar trials in the console versions of these games. Okay? Now, I think I can explain some of it. Some of it is just scummy practices, which I completely understand, even if I disagree with, and I have been very vocal about this even in World of Warships Legends, as I've seen some of this stuff coming out already on Legends. And I've been very vocal about that, like the Key, for instance, and the Key being one of those ships that was solely available behind a loot box, and I can't stand that. I think it's annoying. I think that it causes people to waste money, and it's literally gambling. Okay? You aren't guaranteed to ever get a ship that's in a loot box. You're not guaranteed it. It's a 1% chance every time. Well, some of them it's even less than that. I think a Togo if I remember correctly. And the key, I think they were 0.5% chance. I could be wrong. I'm pulling these numbers out of my head. I don't have the paper in front of me. But less than a 1% chance to a 1% chance of getting a ship every time that you open a crate. There's a lot of other things in there that have a much higher chance to drop, and that is by design. They don't want you to spend, 2,000 gold and get a crate and get the ship immediately. They lose money that way. What they want you to do is to spend hundreds of dollars getting the same ship. Sure, some people will win it early, and those people always have a tendency to brag about it, and that's fine. I mean, more power to you. You beat the system. It doesn't happen very often. But for the rest of us, yeah, I've been there. Dirty Mike's perfect example. I hope he doesn't mind me using him as an example, but he's been very vocal about the whole key. He wants that ship so bad. He spent so much money trying to get that ship out of the crate, and he still hasn't managed to get it. Even with the new crates coming back out that have a chance to drop the key, he hasn't managed to get it that I know of as of right now. So I really, really despise that. And then there's the Azure Lane crossovers. Now, I personally don't mind the majority of the Azure Lane commanders and stuff that have come to the game, but there are commanders that are with Azure Lane that I think cross the line between being acceptable and being appalling. And those are the ones that look like they are underage. And I think that is a line that shouldn't be crossed in a game that is available free to play to everybody. And I don't think, honestly, I don't think it's a line that should be crossed in a game, period. Because it's not just socially unacceptable, it's morally incomprehensible. Like, I think it's something that people should not be sexualizing children. That's my opinion. I'm just, stating my opinions on things. And like I said, it's not all of the commanders of the Azure Lane stuff. It's just there are a few that blur the lines in an uncomfortable way. For me personally. Okay? Now, for you, that's your choice, whatever. I just think as a development studio, I understand the crossovers earn you a lot of money, but, maybe some other way of doing the crossovers that doesn't involve, pedophilia. But anyway, I understand 100% where the PC World of Warships community contributors who have stepped away from the program are with their frustrations, their lack of communication from Wargaming. Wargaming has a tendency to react as a gigantic company rather than on a smaller level once a game gets to a certain point. Now, early on in a game's infancy, I guess would be the word I'm coming up with. As the game progresses, things change, okay? And Wargaming's approach to everybody changes as well. And this is something I have noticed. And I am not specifically talking about the World of Warships Legends program or anything like that. World of Warships Legends is in a pretty decent place as far as the developers, the communication, and while they do things that we don't necessarily like, they have also shown that they are willing to listen and do things that make everybody happier / also not necessarily appeasing an angry mob. But here's the thing. Here's what I think happens. So early on, Wargaming, first of all, Wargaming as a company is massive. You guys got to understand that. Each individual game that has Wargaming as the, the studio or the publisher, you've got to understand, has its own development team. It's how they do things. They compartmentalize everything. So each game has its own team. All right? Some people work cross those teams, but for the most part, each team is completely different from one another. Okay? So people that you interact with and have certain reactions one way or the other, they're not always the same. But Wargaming as a company has a tendency to, early on in the game's development, whatever the game may be much more open. They're open to communication. They're open to all the feedback that you can give them. And then as the game progresses and the player base builds, something changes and Wargaming starts to break communication. And I think part of it is our fault. And I just, again, these are my opinions, my thoughts. You guys asked for it. I'm giving you them. Part of it is our fault as the community. Not all of it is our fault. And, in large part, Wargaming has quite a bit to bear of responsibility in this as well. But as a community, we tend to be very vocal about everything that's bad and nothing that's good. Okay? Now imagine, every day that you come into work, okay? At the end of the day, everybody's human, right? So imagine you're going into work, you like your job, you go into work, and every day you are just bombarded with negative after negative after negative after negative. And the most vocal people in the community are the most negative. Let's just be real. Those of us who enjoy the game may enjoy the game, but generally speaking, when we enjoy the game, we just kind of enjoy the game. We don't get too deep into it. However, when we have a problem, and I am a perfect example of this, I've done it myself. When I think that there's an issue, by God, I'm going to talk about it. And so that's why I say I think we are to blame. And the reason I say this is because I think a lot of people just assume that Wargaming's the bad guy in every scenario. And in fact, I think part of it is the community tends to just be more prone to vocalizing the negatives than the positives. And I have personally, like I stated at the beginning of the video, never had an issue being critical of the developers or Wargaming as a company in either World of Tanks console or World of Warships Legends, which are the two titles that I have had the most experience in. 8 years between the two games. But I also try to maintain a balance of being critical and also pointing out things that I enjoy that the developers do. Okay? And the reason I try to do this is to set an example for the community. Now, as far as I know, I am the largest World of Warships Legends community contributor that I know. Maybe there's somebody that I'm not as familiar with in one of the other languages. I could be completely wrong. But as far as I know, that's the case. And so with that comes a bit of a responsibility to try to maintain some sort of rationality in the community currently. Now, obviously, I am not known for having the best personality when it comes to live comms. I 100% agree with that. I don't like that version of myself personally, which is why I don't generally post live comms videos. I do it occasionally because I know a lot of people enjoy that. They enjoy the real side of gaming. But what happens is the more negative that we are, the more vocally negative we are, the less communication that we're going to get out of a person. And that makes complete sense. I mean, think about it. If every email you get or every comment you get or every tweet that you get is the exact same thing every day saying, oh, this is broken or this is broken or I hate this or I hate that, you're just going to start ignoring it, right? Like, it does come down to that. And so as the game progresses, you go from we're really, really open and wanting to communicate and do all of this to slowly over time becoming numb to everybody's negativity until eventually you just get a what's the word I'm looking for? A crap. So this is the thing about doing things live and not rehearsing or having a script like a lot of guys do. I've never been that guy. I've always been the off the cuff, one take and it's done. But sometimes I get stumbled over my words. It happens, so I apologize. But anyway, so you get a bad rap for being incommunicado. You don't communicate with anybody, and that also happens, and it happens over time as more and more negativity spills in. They get less and less communication, right? They just start ignoring everything, and that shouldn't include the community contributor program, regardless of how much feedback you get. We are the people that you chose as a company. Okay? Regardless of what you may think about our opinions or whatever, we are the people that you chose as a company to represent your game, your community, and help bring people to your game. You should not ever break communication between a community contributor and the developers, regardless of how that is. Okay? It shouldn't happen. But it does. Especially late in the game's life. Now, keep remembering that World of Warships PC is what? 6, 7 years old at this point? Okay? The game's very late in its development cycle. To keep a game relevant for that long, let alone popular for that long, is impressive. And that bodes to both the developers and the community. Because you can't have one without the other. And that's where things get horribly wrong. Okay? The community as a whole has grown tired of all of the bullcrap. Okay? Loot boxes that hide ships instead of just giving us a freaking thing to buy the ship. Okay? If you want to put something in a loot box, that's fine. But don't make it exclusive to that loot box. Alright? It shouldn't be the only way to get a ship. Okay? Put the price out there. Okay? I don't care if it's expensive. Okay? But at least put a solid price on it rather than just leave everything up to chance and gambling. And remember, this game is supposed to be up for pretty much anybody, right? This isn't supposed to be an adult content game. Gambling is adult content, regardless of what you think. It is. And kids are especially vulnerable to gambling. Why? Because they don't have self-control and they don't have the knowledge of the repercussions that come from just trying to get a ship. In their mind, they just go for it, and their mom and dad's credit card or whatever. But there are kids that play the game, and then the fact that they are offering, once again, the loot boxes and stuff, it's just wrong. Like, I don't mind camos and stuff and all of that in loot boxes, but to put ships behind only a loot box is wrong. Because you're going to get people that just end up losing so much money trying to get this electric, or the just whatever the bits are on screen. You know what I'm saying? So, I know that it's a choice that everybody's allowed to make. You don't have to buy anything. The game is free to play. You don't have to spend money on anything. But that's not how the game is set up, and we all know it. Regardless of it being free to play, it is much harder to be a free to play player than it is to be one of us who spend money. Period. Those of us who are adults and choose to spend $100, $200, $300. Some people spend a lot more than that on crates to get content. I mean, that's your choice. But to have gambling like that in, like, World of Warships Legends crates have been around since the beginning. Okay, it's kind of a newer thing on PC, which is why I think they're the most upset about everything. But PC has put a lot more stuff solely behind the crates, whereas World of Warships Legends has done a pretty good job of making sure that, you know, our campaign ships, you can pay the 2,500 gold for the Admiralty, and you can go through the campaign and you just unlock the ship at the end of that. Okay, you have to spend a little bit of money, but, you know, comparatively, it's nothing. And then, if you want, you can buy the whole campaign out. Just buy it outright, and it's like 30,000 gold. So there is something to be said, something to be earned about, you know, knocking out the entire campaign the old-fashioned way and just paying your 2,500 gold to get your ship and all of the other goodies that come with it. And I've always said that that is your best bang for your buck when it comes to spending money in this game. Premium time, and then the campaigns, because you get so much with a campaign for so little. 2,500 gold is, you know, relatively cheap, and you get so much, and a free ship potentially. Well, not a free ship, but a ship at the end of it. So, as I've said all of this stuff, what I'm getting around to is the fact that you get a community that gets more and more negative as it grows, or at least more and more vocally negative as it grows. The passion for the game is there. And then you got a developer who gets more and more tired of hearing all of the negative from the same people over and over and over and over and over again, because that's what happens. I don't know if you have ever tuned into a World of Warships, either PC, console, World of Tanks, PC, console, doesn't matter. If you've ever joined into a wargaming stream, if you've ever seen a post that they create on their social media, whether Twitter or Facebook, you can see what I'm talking about. There will be just endless comments of the same thing week after week, of just people who A, don't understand everything, and B, are just completely negative about everything. Okay? And so that makes the developers less likely to interact with people over time, and when you get 4, 5, 6 years down the road into the developer cycle, that's when you start running into these issues of seemingly a developer not caring, or a company, a publisher, not caring about the community. Okay, it may not be the case, because as we all know, without a community, you have no game. Without a developer, you have no game. So it's a give and take relationship between the communities and the developers, and it's something that must remain open. Everybody likes to get so upset about everything nowadays. It's just the way we are. As a society, the world has gone to a point where everybody gets extremely upset about anything. And it doesn't even have to be serious. And I'm not saying that this isn't a serious issue on PC. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. Like I said, I stand with them 100%. Even though, as World of Warships Legends, we haven't gotten to that point yet. But I think that we need to remember that you have to try to see everything from multiple sides. And I love the CCs from PC that I personally watched, like the Mighty Jingles. You guys know him. He's the one that got the majority of us involved in one way or the other of World of Warships. And then, of course, I've run into other CCs as we went. Watch Flamu. I watch. Trying to think of some of the others, but Flambass is my dude. Flamu I used to watch. I don't watch him as much anymore. But this whole situation with Little White Mouse on PC is pretty rough example of just what happens when corporation take over and kind of push the developers back and push the community back, and that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. There has been a lot of stuff leading up to this, and you know, with the whole situation with Little White Mouse and everything, that was the straw that did it. Like, you know, people are eventually going to get tired of trying. Okay, and you could see it all in the CC's faces, the ones that have left. Like, years they've put up with the game getting further and further away from the direction that they want it to be in. They provide their feedback and they just get told, you know, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about, and stuff like that. And so they put up with that, and they put up with that, and then they put up with that, and then suddenly you cross a line in the community's eyes of not just disrespecting, but completely belittling and demeaning the work of two people, that one of which is renowned for her contributions on World of Warships PC, and for the fact that she has, as far as I know, not even got a YouTube channel or a Twitch that she posts videos on or anything like that. Just the work that she puts in to make the community better, as far as the ship reviews that she types up on the forums and stuff like that, that all of the community contributors that I've seen who have left put in their video, that they openly wait for her to make her review so that they can get the information that they need to make their own. And that speaks very, very highly of the person. And while I may not know Little White Mouse personally, seeing the reaction of the World of Warships PC community and the reaction of the World of Warships PC CC program, Wargaming's got a mess on their hands. And it's going to be up to them to try to circle the wagons, rally the troops, whatever it's going to take to right the wagon, or to right the ship. It's a ship game, right? Your ship is listing hard to port. What are you going to do about it? It takes a team, folks. It takes a team. Wargaming, you can't forget about the community, and the community, you've got to do better with Wargaming as well, because we're all in the same boat. We all want the same things, believe it or not. Well, Wargaming wants money as a corporation, but the developers and you are on the same team. You both want to make a great game that you can enjoy for a long time. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. I know this has been kind of all over the place, but I really wanted to make this, and I wanted to wait long enough to get more information, see the reactions of Wargaming from the PC side of things, get more reactions as everything unfolds, so that I can get the whole picture before I make a video. I didn't want to rush into it, and that sort of thing. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. This, again, has been my thoughts and my opinions on the entire situation, and how it pertains to Legends. I kind of threw there in the middle, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that as well. So if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.